The day has come that Ark Survival is on the downfall. Today I'm going to be talking about the de-evolution of Ark Survival Evolved. So as you guys all know, Ark Survival Evolved was in early access for almost 2 years. That is 2 whole years. That is insane for any game. And in those 2 years, it is very important that those developers, with the audience that they already have for the game, that they try to expand on it and make sure that that audience will stay for the full game. Now, Wildcard, the developers of Ark Survival, their biggest flaw in their game was that they did not perfect it. Instead of perfecting it, they decided to just pump more and more content into the game to kind of hide the fact that their game had all these mistakes and all these just things that was wrong with it. For example, undermapping, and I'll get into it more later, but a ton of glitches that they needed to fix. But instead of trying to fix it, they actually just pumped in more and more crap, more and more DLC, all that stuff, more dinos, everything that the game did not need when the game should have been perfected, all the glitches gone, so it's actually more enjoyable rather than just a ton of new content. There were countless updates that were added instead of perfecting it. Some of these include the Center, Scorched Earth, Ragnarok, Aberration. These were all 4 different types of maps that were added to the game instead of perfecting the game and making all the glitches and the bugs go away, but instead they added just a ton of new maps, 4 to be exact. They did this so that the game would stay relevant and that people, the existing players of the game, would not just leave and move on to a new game. They kept adding more content to keep the people there, but when the people were actually playing the game, it would be all glitchy and buggy, which was a huge flaw in Wildcard's decision. Some of these glitches include just graphic glitches, like little stripes on the side of the screen, or just bugs. And then also in-game glitches, such as a dinosaur, for example, a Carno. It would be able to hit you from like super far away. You wouldn't even see it and it would be hitting you. And other just examples like that. It was absolutely just horrible to even try to play. The concept of the game was awesome. They did a great job with that. That's why the game actually did blow up for a while. But it started dying out very quickly once players actually started to notice all these bugs. Another one of the bugs is actually undermapping. So this is a huge one, and I'm going to talk about it more in the video later on. Undermapping is when you go underneath the map and you can pretty much snipe tames from under the map. You can raid bases. It's horrible. It's a huge exploit in the game, and since duping was sort of fixed, they tried their best to fix duping. Undermapping has started to rise up in the flaws in Ark at the moment. All these glitches and bugs caused people to start going away from Ark and switching to new games that were in the final game itself, not just a game preview with a ton of bugs. And what this caused is a ton of people to stop playing on the servers, a lot of inactivity, a lot of inactive servers that needed to be wiped, and just no one in the game itself. By saying that, there were obviously still a lot of people still playing the game, but a lot of those members were starting to leave the game and transfer on to new games that were new, that had different types of aspects to them and weren't as buggy. With all these old legacy players actually leaving the game itself, not playing anymore, this caused the game to start going on a downfall. New players would come, but more players were leaving than actually coming. Because when those new players would join the game, they'd buy Ark, they'd purchase it, they'd start playing it just because of all the bugs and because of how the game is set up, because there are the old legacy players with alpha and just omega tribes and alliances. It was so hard for those new players to actually start up, which caused them to want to quit and stop playing. Obviously, players can play on single player and non-dedicated servers, but this did get boring after time, and everyone wants some PvP or PvE, just official servers in general, but there were still more people leaving the game than actually joining it. So in August of 2017, when the game officially launched, this was incredible. It was incredibly, what's the word? Sad. When the game was launched, there were still many bugs. It was not even close to ready. Not ready for the public. It should have stayed in development. All the old, loyal, strong players and just loyal, dedicated fans to Ark Survival that were actually still on the servers, they started to slowly decrease as the game did not get any better. And as the huge tribes and alliances started to get wiped out in Ark Survival, they would just quit because there was no way to counter against all the glitches and undermapping that there was actually taking place. Over the past 2 years since Ark Survival came out, it kind of went in an upward slope and then slowly at a downward slope from there. And by 2019, I'm sorry to say, Ark Survival will be dead. Thank God for the modding community itself on YouTube and on other forums. Ark Survival has sort of stayed alive, I guess you could say, with all these new features being added. Still a lot of bugs, but the new features kind of, I guess you could say, hide all those bugs and glitches. But with that aside, if you do look at Ark Survival and the player servers, you can obviously see that the player number is decreasing in these servers. If you go on Xbox or PC or PS4, whatever console you are on, if you do check the server settings or the player amount, you can obviously see that compared to before when the game was first launched, when all the servers were fully maxed, they were insane, like you could barely get into a server. Now you can join any server you want pretty much. Almost none of the servers are always full, and if you go through the list, so many of them are just not full or completely empty. There are a few servers that are empty. So what the developers are doing to try to fix their game is just going in there and removing some of the servers that have no one on it, which is good for the game, but at the same time, it's just proof on how Ark is just slowly dying. They have to remove servers because of the inactivity on those servers. So as Ark Survival slowly but surely goes down in a spiral, just bam, pummeling to the ground, by 2019, that is my prediction. Neroku said it first, boys. 2019, Ark Survival will be dead. By dead, I do not mean not played. I just mean it will be, how do I say it? Irrelevant. So the only real way to save Ark is the developers fix it as much as they can. If these developers can go in there and they fix all the bugs, they get rid of undermapping, duping, everything that I mentioned before, they get rid of every single thing that is ruining the game and making it hard to play, it will become playable, and hopefully, maybe, it will start attracting new players so that they actually have a chance in the game, and also it will keep the older players to stay in the game instead of leaving once they get undermapped or they get duped on their server or whatever happens. Now, let's talk about Wildcard's solution to the problem. Like I said earlier, Wildcard loves to just pummel Ark, pummel you guys with more DLC, more content. Some of the DLC is paid. Just a ton of stuff just shoved in your face to make sure that you buy it and you like the game instead of fixing the game itself. Instead of trying to save it, they decided to add Ark Park. So this is another type of Ark Survival game. It is a VR game, so virtual reality. You put on the headset and you can look around, kind of like Jurassic World or whatever. So obviously it's going to cost money and you will have to purchase a VR if you don't have one already. But adding this in there, it kind of just distracted people from the real focus point or the real problem at hand. And that problem was obviously the glitches and the bugs and all that stuff. On top of Ark Park, they decided to add Pixark. So adding Ark Park and Pixark was a pretty big mistake and kind of just made Ark not really go down more, but it definitely did not save it. All it did was really bring in existing players from Ark Survival and maybe some Minecraft players or whatever and kind of put them together, but it didn't really bring anything to Ark Survival itself. It only brought things to those two games. On top of that, their support team does not respond at all. So I'm sorry guys, if you guys have a duping tribe or whatever on your server, you can't contact support, they never reply. Along with their very dandy support team, Ark Survival is not helping their case and not helping their game at all, causing it to die even more by adding in more stuff up to date. Some of the new stuff that they added was the TLC patch, which made dinosaurs more realistic and had a more realistic feeling and just physical abilities. They kind of just amped up more dinos in the game to make it look even cooler. So, what do you guys want? Do you want more TLC and more stuff just to be added into the game? Or do you want these Ark developers to fix duping, to fix the glitches, to fix everything in the game itself? So I want your opinion. Do you truly think that Ark Survival Evolved will be dead by 2019? I surely do. Quote me on that. Watch, it will happen. But anyways, guys, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know you haven't. I'm looking at you. You haven't subscribed yet, so make sure you go down there and do it, and turn on post notifications so that you get all the notifications for my videos, my banger videos. And I will see you guys tomorrow, and peace.